Good morning. The Committee on Regulatory Reform will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you read the roll?
Chair Carter.
Present.
Representatives Liberati.
Here.
Neely.
Here.
Scott.
Present.
Young.
Here.
Grant.
Present.
McFall.
Here.
Snyder.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Mueller.
Here.
Filler. Wenzel.
Here.
Aragona.
Here.
Beerline.
Here.
Nair.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 members. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Need a motion for approval and adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting from Representative Grant. Thank you. With that, we'll be voting out House Bill 4177. We took testimony on the 12th. We read the cards into testimony. I'll take a motion to report House Bill 4177 with recommendations from Representative Liberati. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Carter.
Yes.
Representatives Liberati.
Yes.
Neely.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
McFall.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Mueller.
No.
Filler.
Pass.
Wenzel.
Pass.
Aragona.
Pass.
Beerline.
Pass.
Nair.
Pass.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas, 1 nay, 5 passes. House Bill 4177 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll vote on House Bill 4717. We took testimony on June 20th. I believe we have an H1 sub which Rep. Grant would like to speak to.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Carter and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak again on House Bill 4717 and on the H1 substitute that has been provided to the committee. As a reminder, this bill would amend requirements for realtors to ensure that they undergo at least 1 hour of fair housing education every year of a license cycle. Training on fair housing is already required for initial licensure, and my bill would simply require it on a regular basis as a part of the continuing education requirements. I testified on this bill in June, and since then, Lara approached my office about adopting technical changes that will help them with implementation. The department requested that subsection 5 and 6 be amended to strike language that ties penalty hours to the amount of time that has lapsed since the realtor has renewed. The department finds this type of penalty difficult to implement, and it is not consistent with license requirements for other trades. So this H1 substitute strikes that reference and instead allows the department to prescribe penalty hours based on the results of their audit and the number of insufficient hours that the realtor has. If a realtor fails to meet requirements for their license, the department will still be able to require additional hours of training based on their audit. This change does not change anything about the goal of the bill and will ensure that realtors are versed in fair housing practice. I'm happy to work with Lara, and also the Michigan realtors have agreed to this change. I would like to thank the realtors for partnering with me and also welcome any questions from the committee.
Any questions? We have 2 cards in support, but wishing to speak if necessary. I don't think it's necessary. Supporting the bill, Brad Ward from the Michigan Realtors. In support of the bill, Ryan Knight from Michigan Realtors. I'll take a motion to adopt H1 substitute for House Bill 4717 from Representative Liberati. Madam Clerk?
Chair Carter.
Yes.
Representatives Liberati.
Yes.
Neely.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Grant. McFall.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Filler.
Yes.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Aragona.
Yes.
Beerline.
Yes.
Nair.
Pass.
Mr. Chair, the substitute H1 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll take a motion to report House Bill 4717 as sub H1 with recommendation from Representative Wilson. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Carter,
Yes.
Representatives Liberati,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
McFall,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Filler,
Yes.
Wenzel,
Yes.
Aragona,
Yes.
Beerline,
Yes.
Nyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 yeas, 0 nays, 1 pass. House Bill 4717 is reported with recommendation of substitute H1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll have testimony on House Bill 4647, modifying Departments of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs inspections requirements of barbershops and barber colleges. We have Kate from Representative Ayash's office with Paige Foltz from Laura.
Hello, I would like to begin by thanking the chair and the committee for hearing our testimony today regarding House Bill 4647. My name is Katie Michaels, and I'm the legislative director for Majority Floor Leader Abraham Ayash. I'm testifying on his behalf today. The goal of House Bill 4647 is to eliminate the requirement that each barbershop be inspected once annually and each barber college be inspected biannually. Historically, inspections for cosmetology locations and barbershops were previously aligned. The COVID-19 pandemic created an inspector retention problem. In April of 2020, the Senate passed SB 434 by a margin of 37-0, and the House supported the bill 102-5. SB 434 changed cosmetology annual inspections to permissive inspections. That change has allowed the department to effectively allocate inspection resources while maintaining high safety standards. At this time, I would like to turn things over to Paige Foltz to introduce herself and explain why this bill is needed.
Thank you so much, Chairman and committee members. As Katie mentioned, I am Paige Foltz. I am the Director of the Office of Policy and Legislative Affairs at LARA. So LARA is incredibly supportive of this bill. It does allow for permissive inspections for barbershops and colleges. This does align the barbershop industry with the cosmetology industry on inspections while maintaining public safety. It is incredibly challenging meeting the statutory inspection requirements that are currently in place with our allotted 5 regulatory officers. There are no vacancies either among these positions. So while LARA completes these inspections, it does take more than a year to do so with our current resources. It is not feasible for Michigan to inspect all 1,386 barber shops and colleges annually and biannually for the colleges, and then on top of it, the random inspections for the over 10,000 cosmetology industry licensings that we do as well. For that, House Bill 4647 not only allows LARA to continue our inspections as we are doing, but it allows a timely manner and an opportunity to more effectively allocate our resources. A permissive inspection schedule allows LARA, opposed to just focusing on timeline, to use a combination of timeline between inspections, complaints, and routes from one inspection point to another when creating our system. With that, I will see if there are any questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Any questions? I guess I had a couple, but I think you touched on them. You have 5 inspectors?
Yes, for both cosmetology and barber.
So how do inspections now? Are they random? Are they based on, like you said, a timeline?
Yep. So in statute, barber is required right now to be inspected annually, and then the colleges are biannually, and so they have to focus on that timeline, whereas cosmetology is being on the permissive timeline. It's a rotating schedule. It doesn't have to be done within the year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No cards, cool. We'll now go at ease.
Committee will come back to order. We're now going to have Chair Carter do testimony on House Bills 4928 through 4930.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. House Bills 4928 through 4930 provide our school districts with greater options for protecting children when getting on and off the bus. Current Michigan law effectively requires school districts to purchase stop-arm camera systems, which in times of tight budget doesn't always receive the funding priorities. These bills create another options for these districts. I'm proud to be a part of the passage of this in 2021. Since the adoption through, we have noticed it favors affluent and larger school districts over those with less discretionary dollars. I want to see all students have the same measure taken for their safety no matter the districts they are in. What this package does is create a system for school districts to create a stop-arm safety program. The safety program allows for school districts to work with a camera hardware provider and a server vendor where they would place the cameras on the buses. Tickets from the system would be in the form of civil violations instead of traditional moving violations. All the funds collected from the civil infractions are to be paid to the school district that is operating under the safety program. This package is still an opt-in program and has no requirements on the district. Every state that has employed camera stop-arm enforcements have also put this system in place. Thank you, Chair and committee members, for your time today. You want to introduce yourself? Sure.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Randazzo, Executive Vice President of Bus Patrol America, and I'm here mainly as an industry expert as the largest provider of this service around the country. We operate on approximately 25,000 school buses across 26 states. The state of Michigan, as the representative and chairman just mentioned, already had the great sense of making school bus stop-arm cameras permissive to be used within the state of Michigan. But there are some best practices that many other states have adopted that have seen driver behavior around stop school buses improve. Reckless driving is on the rise. I think that anyone on this committee, if you're a parent or if you take your kid to the school bus stop in the morning, anecdotally sees that people are texting and driving and distracted more than ever before. And there's just never an excuse for blowing past a stop school bus and endangering a child's life. So happy to answer any questions as it relates to the bill in support of the chairman, and here to support.
Let me just add real quickly. This was passed through the House 2 years ago, and I'm not sure what happened, but it passed unanimously. This is really a safety issue for our students. What we found out is more and more students are catching buses to school because there's not really any neighborhood schools anymore, so it's not a rural issue, it's not an urban issue, it's an everybody issue. So this provides a layer of security, and I can say this as a person who witnessed somebody get hit by a bus when I was younger. It's really traumatic to the people that witness it just as well.
You have any questions? You get off easy. The committee will go at ease.
We are now back in session. I have some cards here. Wishing to speak opposing the bill is Kathy Morris from the Michigan Association of Pupil Transportation.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come and speak on this. My name is Katrina Morris, and I'm the Executive Director for the Michigan Association for Pupil Transportation. MAPT supports the maximum fines for motorists that illegally pass our stop school buses and the use of stop arm cameras to enforce the safety for our kids, because when this all comes down to it, it really is a safety issue with our kids. Although we agree with a lot of what these bills say, there are a lot of things that we think are redundant and are not necessary to be put into the bill. In regards to 4928 and 4929, where it talks about we can enter into an agreement with a contractor, we already can do that. We do not need a law stating that we can do that. When it talks in regards of 4930, that we can install and operate a camera system, we already do that. It is also asking to remove the distancing 200 feet in front of the school bus. That was put in there as a safety precaution and as a stop guard. If I got a ticket and school bus drivers have to have those lights activated 200 feet before the stop. There are some drivers who sometimes something doesn't work, something doesn't happen, and they flip that light. We wanted to be able to go back and prove if we are using the camera systems that this driver did do this correctly. We are not just giving tickets out to people who, maybe didn't deserve it. So that part being come out, that is a concern for us. Michigan school fleets have been buying stop arm cameras and systems for approximately 12 years. We have a lot of vendors who currently do this. We have a lot of buses that currently have these on here. The other thing is that we have passed into legislation this year, Senate Bill 63, which is allowing the purchase of school buses into the sinking funds. This will help school districts to be able to afford this. We also got in the State School Aid Act $125 million reimbursement for K-12 funding in transportation that we've never had before. Again, this will help to be able to afford those camera systems. So, in conclusion, we are opposed to these bills just because we don't think that there is a need for this. Yes, there is a need for people to know and to educate the community on our bills or on our stop arms and what our lights mean. And we are the safest form of transportation to and from school. We would also like to be the safest form of transportation getting to and from the school bus, but that goes through education as well. Chair, you had talked about, schools not being able to afford this. I think some of the things that have been put into place are going to help that, and we will be able to fund those in a different way. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Representative Argona?
Yeah, sorry, and maybe this actually might be one for the sponsor. I'm not sure how this works, but is this, would this be a department actually implementing these cameras, or is this would an RFP go out and multiple vendors could be able to do it?
And that's the other thing is how it works right now is schools have a competitive bid process. So if it's anything over a certain threshold, we have to go and get 3 competitive bids. So in doing that, yes, you're going to be collecting fines, which will help to negotiate that price, but what price are we really getting? What is the end price? Because we have to have an end price, and if it's saying that there isn't an end price up front because we're going to pay for it with the fines, there's a little bit of a problem. But it is up to the districts to get those competitive bids. They go out, we get 3 competitive bids, and then we can pick which one from there.
Okay, so it'd be open to multiple vendors?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
And it is opt-in legislation.
gotcha.
For the-
Okay.
Thank you. Opposing to bill but not wishing to speak is Debbie McCullough from the Michigan Library Association. Opposing the bill, not wishing to speak, Judge Kim Weigard, Michigan District Judges Association. Opposing the bill, not wishing to speak, Dave Randalls, Oakland Schools. Next, we will hear testimony on House Bill 4649. Representative Stone, requiring height-adjustable adult-sized changing tables in public restrooms.
Good Good morning, Mr. Chairperson and Regulatory Reform Committee, for the opportunity to offer testimony on House Bill 4649, also known as Liam's Law. I'd like to start by thanking Jessica Gomez and Liam's mother for raising the need for this legislation and being a tireless advocate on this issue. We also have Liam joining us here today. 4 years ago, when Jessica first posed a question, it opened my mind. She asked if I'd considered how people that need help with diapering change themselves or are changed with assistance once they've aged out of infant changing tables. I was taken aback to have never considered this need. At the time, Jessica shared that her son Liam, age 5, who has a diagnosis of autism but also has developmental delays, requires assistance with diapering. Is too large for infant changing tables, and I was floored at the idea that people with disabilities are relegated to changing themselves on unhygienic floors of bathrooms, backs of minivans, or trying to be propped up on the lap of someone sitting on a toilet. We can do better. This is an issue of accessibility and inclusion. It's also an issue of hygiene, safety, and dignity. I'll let Jessica share her personal story, and then I'll talk a little bit about what this legislation does.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Jessica Gomez. I am Liam's mom. So I'm just going to go through a few notes here for the sake of time. So Liam is a rare kiddo, but kids like Liam exist in the state. Statistics show from United Way that the amount of Michiganders that require some sort of assistance with care is 1.4 million, which comes out to 14%. Liam's case, he has a rare brain disease known as periventricular nodular heterotopia. He is the only documented living person with his subtype of his brain disease. He also has severe nonverbal autism, as well as some other brain issues as well, too. So for Liam, he's now 8 years old going on 9, but his cognitive level is that of an 18-month-old. So not only are we talking about, not understanding, or not physically being able to use the restroom as you or I would, but also not having that cognitive ability to learn how to do that. One of the things I really want to point out with this too is that, thinking about infants and diaper changing and things like that, and someone Liam's size, we're not talking about, a 3-month-old baby being changed. This is an almost 9-year-old. This is a much larger child, which means much messier situations. When we first had our first experience with Liam, it was at U of M's Kellogg Eye Center, where we had to change him on the floor. That was really an eye-opener to us, because that told me that as far as CS Motts goes and University of Michigan Healthcare Facility goes, these are the hospitals and the places that are seeing these children with special needs, not to mention adults and everything else too. But specifically with children with all of these medical needs, and not even that healthcare system had recognized that this is the population that they are serving, and that while these families are driving how many miles to come to these appointments with specialists, we don't have a changing table. We don't have that. And so that was kind of alarming to me when that first came up. And I was told at that point, I was the first one who brought that to the hospital's attention, which again, it's like, you have how many people here that you serve? So that was really surprising to me. And now Liam was much younger when we first had this encounter. Like I said, he's going on 9 now. When we first started working on this bill too, I had not had my own health scare yet. In 2020, after we introduced the bill the first time in January, I actually had to have brain surgery that summer. So now myself, if I injure myself, I have to undergo another brain surgery. That's something I cannot do, like mental health and everything like that. I do not want to do that. So I cannot lift Liam in certain situations. As you can imagine, a toddler throws a tantrum at times. That happens too, because that cognitive level is not there. So when you have him getting combative, getting changed, things like that, it has to be done safely to keep that injury away. And OSHA says that, according to their statistics too, with caregivers, the biggest injuries are always, sprains and strains and things of that nature. What it also comes down to too is that, excuse me, my mouth is getting very dry. if we're unable, or if I'm unable to take care of Liam as, primary caregiver parent, then he has to go to somewhere else, whether it be a state facility, however that works. I don't know all the statistics on how that works. We're obviously not in that process yet. But if that were to happen, he is on Medicaid, he is disabled, he's on state insurance, so that money is still coming out of the state somehow, just in a different form. That being said, too, these changing tables would not just solve the situation for, us as caregivers changing someone like Leon. This is obviously something that the elderly would be able to use, too. We are starting to get to a point here in the near future where we are going to have an amount of elderly community members in comparison to the younger generation having to take care of those community members. In the state of Michigan, you as a child are not legally responsible for the care of your parent. So if it's not easier for the child to take care of their elderly parent, they're more than likely going to go in a nursing home. So that would help to keep those facilities, less people going in, things of that nature as well. Another issue it would also fix as well is the issue of fathers not having baby changing tables in their restrooms. That's something that I see quite often is brought to attention as well. And this is something where it would be universally sized and universally accessible. Anyone can use it. Male, female, whatever, everyone can use it. It fits everyone. Most of these go as low as like 12 inches off the ground, and they hold up to 400 pounds, sometimes 550. So again, this is something where everyone could use it. It would really be eliminating the need to, have these accommodations made later on as well. And another point, too, I would like to make as well is that while we're changing, like Liam on the floor of that, again, this is a child that has severe health issues. We are putting our immunocompromised community members in these, situations where they're on a dirty, germ-ridden bathroom floor. I mean, COVID just happened. I don't need to explain to everyone how germs are spread. So when we're having, our immunocompromised community members exposed to that, again, that's going to turn into more health needs. They could get sick. That turns into more doctor's visits. Now, and again, like I said, depending on how their insurance is funded, we're paying for it one way or another. So these tables, they do range in price. Some are as low as $1,800, so $1,800. Of course, prices change, these fluctuate, things like that. So again, they do go up more, but to solve the problem, we're traveling at an airport, we're going to the doctor's office, we can't even take him to go see, we have another son, and we took him to go see Bluey live. Like, we don't have that opportunity to do that with our child because, God forbid, like, we have to change him. What do? We can't just get up and leave like a normal parent can. Like, for example, right now, if I had to change him, what would we do? Obviously, we're not visiting, here every single day. But it's just that idea of, like, if you need to use the restroom wherever you go and you have that, why wouldn't a person who is different in physical capability than you have any other difference with their bathroom needs? So, I do understand, that there is obviously the cost behind it, but I really feel as though when we're looking in the grand scheme of things and we're looking into cost of, like Liam, he's been going to ABA since he was 2 years old, 8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, so 5 days a week. He's an ABA, OT, PT. We spend, and again, he's on Medicaid. So these are these programs that are paying how much money for him to basically work a full-time job to, learn these skills. And then it's like, then we're not going to let them be a part of the community. So then it's like, then what's the point in having them go through all these therapies? Hopefully that makes sense. So, yeah. Nice job. Thank you.
So Liam's Law legislation would require the installation and provide access to at least one universally height adjustable adult size changing table with a form of privacy, whether it's a single bathroom stall or a privacy wall within the toilet facility, or other space in the building or structure that is universally accessible to gender as available to the public, because we know often caregivers can cross gender lines. The location of the toilet facility and other facilities where the changing table is located needs to be displayed at the entrance of the building, or if there is a directory. The requirement would apply to following, to buildings. We know that we'd have to tweak dates as a technicality, but it would be new construction or renovations requiring a permit under this act that has an estimated cost of $10,000 or more. Sorry. Places, it would establish with capacity. We're tweaking capacity. Right now, it sits at 1,500 or more persons per day, including but not limited to state buildings, facilities, or structures. Place of exhibition or entertainment, including movie theaters, concert halls, convention centers, shopping malls, or stores of at least 40,000 square feet. Notice we're tailoring around. We don't want this to be prohibitive to small businesses. Making sure that we expand accessibility to places of recreation, including parks, zoos, amusement parks, but also essentials like airports, bus stations, interstate rest stops, places of education, hospitals, and rehabilitation centers. As you've heard, the everyday outings, as well as trips, experiences that many of us dismiss as routine, can be incredibly stressful or even impossible to enjoy for individuals with disabilities and their loved ones. They always need to plan ahead or wonder if a place they go will have the facilities to accommodate their needs. Not only does this have an enormous personal cost, causing individuals with disabilities to feel increasingly isolated from the rest of the world, consider the potential economic impact of this legislation as well. Inclusion means more people attending concerts and sporting events. Inclusion means greater participation in Michigan's tourism by individuals with disabilities along with their families and friends, because barriers to access have been removed. Inclusion. Liam's Law would update the construction codes to require this equipment. Improvements that have not happened in 30 years. This is an important step in that direction. Michigan must be a state where no one's needs are ignored or forgotten, including our neighbors with disabilities. For too long, we've allowed accessibility gaps to exist. Today, we can take a step towards making this a more inclusive state for all, where everyone is treated with safety, dignity, and respect they deserve. Again, I'd just like to thank Jessica for opening eyes and raising awareness to the need. And we're available to take questions.
Representative Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. How many states or localities have already implemented this?
I'm not for sure the exact amount of states that have implemented it. I do have with me too, if I'm allowed to give you guys this, it's like a set of all the different changing tables that are available and different price ranges and things like that. This is provided by the Changing Spaces campaign. They are a nationwide campaign. I used to be the lead for the Michigan chapter, but I've since stepped back with, now we have Liam's Law. It's kind of expanded from that. But essentially what we're trying to do is, this is a nationwide thing. This is something where, for example, I had to take Liam to Boston's Children's Hospital because he is so rare. He's seen by one of the hospital's main specialists over there that, we had to fly, we had to fund this. We had to fly to Boston to take him there. When we had to change him at the airport, we're literally changing him on the bathroom counter at the time. There was this little small baby changing table. But again, these tables and these things, they're marked for, at max 50 pounds with a recommendation of 35 pounds. And, again, you have Liam, he's been way bigger than that for a while now, and he's actually small for his size. He has had to take nightly growth hormone injections for quite a while. So he's, like I said, he's going to be 9, but he's tiny for a 9-year-old.
Jessica can speak really well to her advocacy around the changing spaces. This is a national and international initiative. We've researched that California offered has adopted comparable legislation back in 2015, New Hampshire in 2019, and Arizona in 2019. There's about 5 other states. Correct me if I'm missing any of them.
Tennessee, I know that they are also working on legislature right now too. There are some states that while they have not formally passed the bill yet, because of course, you have the differentiating sides and things, we go through a lot of obstacles and hurdles to get to where we need to be. So we have some states where they have not had the movement in a bill being passed and made into law, but we have states like Tennessee where their Department of Health and Human Services have already funded over $1 million into this. So the states that don't have the capability right now to go ahead and make this happen are still making it happen in other ways. And unfortunately, what it comes down to, truthfully, again, like I said, we had our first experience at a hospital, at U of M. That's a big name to have this type of experience at. So it's kind of one of those things where, I understand, if it's, it doesn't necessarily have to be a law, people can do it on their own, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, people aren't going to do things sometimes unless they have to, unless it is a law. And that is how, the ADA came to be. And, you had 30 years ago, how many people crawling up the stairs of the Capitol before I was even born or had a saying in anything for my children and generations after me. So,
there's precedent in other states with similar legal language, and we've got about 5 others that have introduced language and are continuing to move it forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you, family, for being here. I know when you brought this to us last term, I hadn't heard of it, and so being the auntie of a nephew with cerebral palsy, and he continues to grow. My niece used to have him on the hip, and now he's 14, but he still wears a diaper, right? And so I get it. And so I'm just looking forward to working with you all to see how best we can move this forward. But I want to thank you for your continued advocacy.
Thank you, Rep. Young. And we know that there are many populations that are impacted by this. And besides people with disabilities, we've got seniors who require diapering and assistance. We have veterans with disabilities. We know that there's a lot of people who have the potential to have their quality of life impacted.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see any other questions.
If I may add one thing too, while this type of bill is newer to the United States and Michigan and what have you, this is something that is already a requirement over in the UK. So this is something where everywhere, they have to have that. Beyond that, they also have to have a hoist lift. Now, a hoist lift is not something that we are going ahead and seeking out right now because with the height adjustable, that should be enough. But I do just want to go ahead and say that, this isn't new. It's new to us, but it's not a new concept. So thank you again.
All right, thank you. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, we have Michelle Roberts from Disability Rights of Michigan. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, we have Nicole Shotwell, Brain Injury Association of Michigan. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, we have Amber Lawrence. Not wishing to speak but in support of the bill, Marissa Kovac from ACLU. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, we have Tim Hosty from Neuro Representative. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, we have Sherry Boyd, the ARC, Michigan. Not wishing to speak, neutral, Jeremy Murphy, Michigan Developmental Disabilities Council. Not wishing to speak but opposes the bill, John McNamara, Michigan Restaurants and Lodging Association. Not wishing to speak, opposing the bill, Tim Langholz, NFIB. Thank you. Not wishing to speak, opposing the bill, Amy Trum, Michigan Retailers Association. All written testimony will be uploaded on the committee website. With there being no other business before the House Regulatory Reform Committee, we stand adjourned.